What's up, guys? Noah here with the Bro Nasty Cast, coming at you with my first ever YouTube tutorial series. This tutorial series is going to be over Stellaris. It's just going to cover the very basics because I know definitely when I started playing the game, I really wish there were some more competent tutorials, kind of highlighting different key points of the game and stuff like that to help new players get into it and to help them understand the basics of, especially when you get on the actual campaign screen. It may look really complex and overwhelming, but even on the newest update 2.0, which basically turned it into a completely different game, even with it, it's still a really simple game. If anything, it's simpler than 1.91, which was the version before this that I actually played on for a long time. Even after the 2.0 update came out, but recently me and my friend, we decided that we were going to go ahead and update the game and just check out the new version. It turned out to be really cool. I've got a few races created already, but I'm just going to kind of walk you guys initially through creating a race and selecting a set of ethics and a government type and kind of how that can affect your campaign in the long run. So let's go ahead and get started here. Hopefully the volume's okay as far as sounds and stuff go. I guess we'll see after the video is uploaded, but I'm going to start off by just selecting a new game after you hit the main menu. Before you hit the main menu, you'll see a window that'll pop up if you recently got the game during the Steam sale. And it actually goes over the patch notes, gives you a link to I think like the Paradox forums or something like that, and you can see all of the patch notes, all the new achievements, all the new features and everything that they just added into the game with 2.0. And yeah, so if you're interested in seeing for those that are just now getting into 2.0 coming from 1.91 and you don't really have any idea what's going on, it's completely fine. They got patch notes and everything for you to check out. As I was playing with my friends, I'm not an expert at this game by any means. I'm not the best at this game. I'm still fairly new. We're talking about 40 hours or less, into the game. I think I'm sitting at around 35, so I'm definitely not a guy that has 1,700 hours put into this game, but I feel like I can put out enough information to help new players that are getting into it. So initially, whenever you go to start a new game like we just did, you have the option to choose from one of the already generated races, which there's quite a few to choose from already. Or you can create a new one, and I've already created a new one, but I recently decided that I'm going to go back and change a couple of things because I kind of set it up really stupid. So I'll walk you through what it's going to look like when you click Create New. We'll just go down to Edit. It's going to pop you up at the appearance screen here, where you get to choose, what do you want your race to be? What kind of race do you want your race to be? Do you want it to be a robot race, a humanoid race? There's all kinds, for each one of them. There's tons of customization options as far as races go. These are just initial templates right here of what the race looks like, but there's a little bit more to the customization than just that. But after you select it, click on next, you get the species name. You can name your own species. You create your own race and your own empire, and that's something that is really unique to this game. It's something that's really unique to the 4X grand strategy genre, which is what this is. So it's a much similar game to say Europa or Hearts of Iron. It's just kind of in space, and none of the nations or empires or whatever you want to call them are predefined. They do not have specific tiles that they already occupy. The game is randomly generated in a randomly generated I guess galaxy or universe, whatever you want to call it, with up to 1,000 stars in each of the games, which is that's a lot. That's a lot. I've never managed to get a super solid chunk of them because the AI empire is really good at expanding, but there's a lot of stars on the map, and there's a lot of planets and stuff that you can colonize and do some really cool things with. So you got your species name here. I think I randomly just went through randomly generated stuff because I'm really bad at just coming up with random names for things. So I just used the little randomized name thing until I kind of got a race name that I thought was cool. But you're welcome to create whatever you want. I created a machine race and called them Skynet, and stuff like that. You can, or well, I named the race Terminator, but I called the Empire Skynet for the Empire name. But after you go through, you choose your race name. You're going to see a name list, and this is basically going to be for like all your leaders. If you choose each of them, you know, if you go through each of them, you'll see each of them have they have different name options. I've been meaning to change mine for the United Nations of Earth to those, because they're a little bit more generic and not as like crazy sounding as some of these. So yeah, you got all kinds. I mean, this one's really cool. I think I'll probably stick with that one actually for this playthrough. But it affects everything. It affects your leader names, the planet names, fleet names, ship names. It'll give you an example. You know, it's going to say ISS in front of every single one of the ships, and then it'll give you some examples of, you know, the kinds of words that will be used and stuff for your ships. And same goes with fleet names and everything else. So after you get that selected, you'll hit next. Now, this is one of the two very, very important screens. These screens are going to define what your empire stands for. They're going to define the ethics and the traits and trades and stuff like that of your nation. And what they're going to define what your nation is really good at and where they stand as far as politics go and policy and ethics. So for this one, I'll go ahead and deselect all these so you can kind of see. It works kind of like if you played something like Project Zomboid, where if you have to have so many bad traits to have so many good traits. Kind of. I don't really know the name of the system, but you have to choose a few negatives to unlock. I guess more trait points, and you get 5 picks total, and it's really important to me to max them out. So what I've noticed is that for the most part, you can have one 2 trait point trait, and then 2 1 point ones. So I normally go with Industrious for the mineral bonus because I want to be a militaristic nation. I want to be a nation that expands rapidly, and for all that you need minerals, and you'll see more about that when we get into the game. But it gives you a plus 15% bonus. That's pretty nice. I like it. That's what I like to go with. But you know, you definitely don't have to. What I'm doing, definitely, I'm not gonna say is the best setup for a race in the game. I mean, the options are endless. However you want to set your empire up. I know Quill18 made a video series where he made a cat race, and for his cat race, he had the cats had to have slaves because they had to have people to clean their litter boxes and rub their bellies and stuff like that. I mean, there's all kinds of ridiculous stuff you can do with this game. And I mean, it's up to you to as far as creativity goes. So I normally take Industrious, and then after Industrious, I used to go with Rapid Breeders, but as you'll notice when you get in game, the more pops you have, the more consumer goods costs that they have, the more resources they take up to maintain those pops. So I stopped taking that. Let's see here. What was I'm trying to find the ones that I had earlier. Communal, plus 5 happiness. This is really important to keep your pops happy. It's a really important thing in the game, and as sometimes you're forced to settle planets that your population isn't necessarily comfortable with, and that really comes in handy for that. So we are going to take that for sure. And conservationalist, conservationist. I'm sorry. This reduces the consumer goods cost by 15%. Again, you'll see more about that when you get in game. As you get more pops, as your empire expands, it costs more consumer goods to maintain those pops. They take more food, they take more minerals, more energy to maintain, and so on and so forth. And that's ultimately the largest part of your income, probably outside of ship maintenance. That's really going to bring you down. So I normally go with those just to be safe. And as far as the negative traits go, obviously you see we have negative 2 points and 2 choices left, so we have to choose 2 negative traits, and that sucks, but you know, it's okay. That's okay, because there's some ones that I think really ultimately they don't matter all that much. I'll take slow breeders because it can be kind of overwhelming to manage all the pops at the beginning of the game. And it costs a lot of minerals to build, well, now it's energy, but it costs a lot of resources to construct buildings on tiles that have populations in them. So I decided to start going with minus 20% on growth speed, so I don't have to worry about that as much. And it's just another trait point. It doesn't really matter to me. The other one that I normally go with, that I've been going with, is sedentary. Now on sedentary, it reduces your migration speed by 50% and increases the resettlement cost by 25%. I haven't gotten to a point in this game yet where I am enslaving another race or anything by any means. And I don't move them. If I capture the planet, I don't move their race off of that planet on my planets. So I never, ever have to worry about migration speed or the resettlement cost, because if I do any resettlement, it's going to be moving pops around on the tiles on planets that I already own. And they're gonna stay within those same planets. And when you do that, there's no resettlement cost, nothing like that. So I find this never really having a negative effect on me. Same with slow breeders. It doesn't really affect me all that much. It doesn't affect my gameplay. It doesn't impact it in a negative way to where it's ruining my experience. So yeah, so that's the first screen down. I mean, there's all kinds. If you're a militaristic nation, you can take strong or very strong, you know, and that'll bump your military up and so on. So it all depends on what you want to do in the game and what you want to plan on doing. This race is built towards expansion. Whoop. Okay, whatever. Drop the screen. Alrighty, sorry about that. So yeah, my race is built towards expansion. I have massive discounts towards star bases and things like that, which you have to build in order to expand your empire. And up until recently, I did not know that your government and ethics affect the technologies that you're presented with research. So I switched over to a militarist ethic, but I'll show you more of that when we get down to the government ethics section over here. The next screen that we got, after you've decided, you know, what traits you want your race to have, you go down to name and class. So you can generate a homeworld name and the star name for your homeworld. Again, I just randomly generated this stuff. I'm not good at coming up with just random names, so I decided to go with that. And on this screen here, you can pick what planet type and what climate type, or I guess environment or whatever you'd want to call it, whatever ecosystem you feel like your species would be most adapted to. I'm a human race, so I'd like to think that humans enjoy living on continental planets. I mean, there's continental, tropical, and oceanic. That's for wet planet types. There's frozen planet types with Arctic worlds, alpine, tundra. Those are the frozen ones. And then you have the desert worlds. There's desert, arid, and savanna. But I just go with continental. Now each of these is it's not all that important to consider, because the planets are randomly generated, and odds are at the beginning of the game you're gonna have two of your planet type, like I'll most likely have one or two continental worlds next to me to colonize. So my race will be very comfortable settling into those planets and whatever systems that they spawn in. But basically, so I'll basically how it works is I'll have a plus 80% habitability for this continental world right here, and you'll see more about that when I get in game. But for everything else in the wet planet little region, like for example the oceanic worlds and the tropical worlds and stuff like that, I'll have plus 60% habitability on those. So my race will still be kind of comfortable on those planets, but they prefer continental worlds. As far as the desert planets, the dry planets, and the frozen planets go, my race is not going to be very comfortable at all on those planets. I believe it sits at like plus 20% habitability on each of those. So, you know, it's definitely something that you want to avoid doing, but it's something that I noticed the AI does tons. So, I mean, so long as you can keep the pops happy on those planets somehow, some way, it's not really that big of an issue. I mean, I've done it before too. It's not a super big deal, but you definitely want to colonize whatever planets your race is most comfortable with first, before you ever go for frozen or dry or whatever, before you go for planets of other planet types. So yeah, there's that. Starting solar system, I just have mine random. I don't really know what that is. As far as city appearance goes, these are just they're just pictures. They're just templates and stuff like that for when you look at stuff. I just have mine set to humanoid by default. I get humanoid from the DLC that I have here. No, there's other these others here. All of these are available in the vanilla version of the game, but I have humanoid because of the humanoid DLC. All right, now this is the second most important screen. This is where you're going to define what kind of government you have and what they're going to stand for. So I've been debating on whether or not to go full militarist with 1 point into xenophobe, or the 2 points into xenophobe, 1 point in militarist. I think we're gonna try just 1 point in militarist and 2 into xenophobe. You get 3 ethnic points or ethic points whenever you go to the screen. You can select 3 individual ones, or you can go for a big bonus, which will double whatever is in each of these right here, like so. But it'll cost you 2 points, and then take 1 other. But I'm gonna go with I normally go with something. They're all fanatics. Fanatic whatever. There's fanatic ethics, and then there's just the normal ones. I normally go with a fanatic ethic and then just a normal one. Now, each of these does very different things. They give you different bonuses, different buffs. Obviously, this is something that's you're gonna want to cater to how you want to play the game and what you want your government to represent, what you want them to stand for. I mean, I wanted to be a militaristic expansionist nation, so I picked fanatic xenophobe, which gives me negative. It gives me -40. It gives me 40% off of star bases, basically. So star bases are things you have to build on stars in order to claim the stars, and this gives you a massive influence reduction when you purchase those. So that's really important to me. It has a lot of negative benefits. A lot of races they don't like you right off the bat, because fanatic xenophobe basically means that my people do not like aliens. They're not a fan of aliens. They don't like them living on the same planet with them, and they don't have good relations with other nations. That does not mean it's not possible to build alliances and have good relations with other nations. It just means when they first discover you on the map, you're going to have a negative impact on them. But through trading and other things, you can build relations up still. It just makes it a little bit harder, but I'm not really worried about that. The main reason why I get it is because of the influence cost reduction and that claim influence cost reduction, because those are two really big things as far as that goes. I mean, I could try just going with 1 point in it and then going full militarist, because I love that fire rate bonus, and I just want to see what it's like. I've done the 20% influence cost reduction. It's not that bad. We'll just go with militarist. So after you select your ethics, like I've chose mine, I mean, they have all kinds. Again, you got fanatic spiritualists for if you want to be a spiritual nation, something that's more focused on the universe, and kind of they're most of the time they're more peaceful nations. But I mean, there's nothing stopping me from putting 1 point into spiritualist and still being a militaristic nation. But as far as the generated empires for the AI, that's normally what they go with. But humans, naturally, you're probably going to want to go with whatever, especially after you learn the game, you're going to go with whatever you want to build towards. So you're going to look at more of the empire modifiers than probably the actual ethic. Or at least that's what I do. I may be a scrub, but that's what I do. After you select your ethics, it's going to give you a choice on government types. Now, depending on what ethics you select, it's going to give you some different government types. Now, with the set of ethics I have right here, I can get basically all of them except for the hive mind and machine intelligence. Machine intelligence is reserved just for robots, I believe. But I'm not entirely sure on that, but I'm almost positive that's how that works. I've never used hive mind, but it gives plus 25% growth and minus 50% on resettlement cost, and that is something that you can select if you select the just thought consciousness. and it restricts you to just those 2 government types. It gives you a couple bonuses down bottom. It'll give you 2 extra core systems, which you'll see more about when we get in game, and it'll give you some extra monthly influence, which again you'll see more about when we get in game. But I'm going to go ahead and go with militarist and xenophobe. A lot of people, my friend Josh, he loves to roll militarist with xenophile, so he's a militaristic nation, so he has a lot of firepower behind his nation, but he's also more friendly with the other races that he comes into contact with. And with xenophile or fanatic xenophile, basically the only way you're gonna have problems with another nation is if you create them. So if obviously you find a race and they're inferior to you and you want to go to war with them, you know, the only way that they're gonna dislike you is if you make them dislike you. It gives you a really good bonus to relations with other nations. That's a really good combo, but I want that star-based influence cost reduction there, because I feel like it's really important for expansion. Over here, you have the civics. You get 2 civics. Now, depending on, I'm gonna go with dictatorial. I've never rolled with dictatorial. Well, actually. Depending on what ethics and authority type or government type you get, that will determine what kind of civics you have available to you. So ethics determines what kind of government you can have, and both of these combined together determines what kind of civics you can have. So for example, if I went with democratic, you would see citizen service, but if I went with the dictatorship kind of thing, citizen service would be locked. I wouldn't be able to get it. So all of these choices affect, you know, what civics and what they affect each other. All the choices that you put into creating your race affect each other. That's something that's really cool, really unique to Stellaris. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go with the dictatorship government type, and yeah, I'm gonna go with the dictatorship government type. I normally go with environmentalist. Again, that buffs my consumer goods cost. Again, it reduces it even more. And I go for mining guilds to buff my mineral production even more. So you'll notice, you know, you may notice, well, you know, it looks like it does the same thing the traits do. Well, in a sense it does, and it stacks, and that's what's really cool. So it's really important also if you're doing something like that to kind of try to match the traits that you pick with your government type to help buff it more. So for industrious, I'm getting plus 15% minerals from that. And if we go to government ethics, it's going to give me an extra 10% on top of that. So I've got plus 25% to my mineral reduction just right off the bat. That's not including any kind of economic technologies or anything like that. Right off the bat, plus 25% to mining guilds, or plus 25% to mineral production, which is really good. And the consumer goods cost stacks as well. I'm pretty sure, pretty sure I did the conservationist. So that's stacking, that's giving me 30% off of the consumer goods and stuff like that. So those are really, really good traits. There's other really good things. The citizen service is really, really good for right at the beginning of the game. It gives you an edge right off the bat over other nations that don't have it, because you got plus 15% to your naval capacity. So you can field 15% more ships than any other race in the game. And that's another one that I love to go with. Whenever I'm rolling oligarchic or democratic, but for this video, I'm just going to stick with the 2 that I've selected. So we're going to hit next. The advisor voice that's just the voice that your advisor is going to have. So
alien savages must be taught to kneel when in the presence of their better.
Democracy sure is an endless struggle.
Under no circumstances must the Xeno be trusted. It
So
will
yeah.
lie, it will cheat, and it will do anything in its power to undermine the efforts of those who in truth are its superiors.
Okay. So the advisor voices they don't matter at all. They're just, you know, whatever voice you think is really cool, that's what it'll have. I'm going to go with the soldier.
This channel is now under military control. Obey all instructions transmitted here and report any insurgent activity to the nearest occupation officer. Have a nice day.
So yeah, I'm going to go with the soldier for this game, just something random. But I mean, you can pick any of them, and they don't affect your game at all. They're just advisor voices. So whenever your advisor is giving you, obviously, advice, That'll be the voice that it uses. The next tab you're going to see is going to be the Empire name tab. Again, I randomly generated this. This randomly generated off of what my race name was, I believe. But yeah, you have your Empire name, so you can create your Empire name, call it whatever you want. Yeah. Next tab over is going to be the flag tab. That's going to be for your banner. I have mine like this by default, but there's all kinds of customization options, color options to change your color and stuff to whatever you want to. I'm gonna leave mine where it's at because I like where it's at. I mean, there's all kinds of little things that you can choose for it. You can't change the color of the little icon, which I think kind of sucks, but no, I deal with it. Next tab over. Ship appearance. Okay, so these are basically going to be what your ships look like in game. Now there's not one set ship type, so all of your ships aren't going to look like this because there's different ship classes in the game. You have corvettes, cruisers, destroyers, there's little fighters. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. This is just a template that your race is going to go off of. Now the only thing that you're not going to see if you don't have the humanoid DLC is the humanoid ships again. The rest of these are the base vanilla ships. These are very, very cool, and the mammalian, whatever, those ships, they're really awesome. I love the humanoid skins for everything. They're really, really cool. So that's one of the reasons why I bought that DLC. Sorry, that's my wife calling me. I'll call her back in just a second when I wrap this video up. So yeah, you got the humanoid ship right here. And yeah, that's just the template that I choose to go with. Next, you're gonna have the ruler. I have my ruler randomly generated, and then there's different backgrounds and stuff you can pick for your portrait. Different clothes you can put on them. I mean, it's just cosmetic template stuff, basically. So yeah, there's that. And after you get that wrapped up, you're just gonna go down. It'll give you an overall view of your race. You'll just go down, save it. Save successfully, and now you're ready to hop into a game, and I'll go over more about this in the start of the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, give me any kind of feedback you feel like is necessary, and I hope you have a great day. Peace.